Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print. So, today we're going to be talking about the next arc in our chronological publication order of the Star Wars Legends continuity. And last episode, we talked about the February 1978 novel Splinter of the Mind's Eye. So, the last time we left off on the Marvel series, Han and Chewie lost all the reward money that they got from the Rebel Alliance for saving Princess Leia. They lost it to Crimson Jack, and he took all their money. So now it sets up the story where Han and Chewie have now had to find more money to pay Jabba the Hutt back. And so they went to Aduba 3, and they took on an odd job with this whole cast of characters who will become pretty well known in the Star Wars Marvel books. Most notably, Jackson the Rabbit will be the most famous or infamous, if you will. So, anyways, there was that. Now, throughout that story, there was some cutaways that I didn't really talk about. Um, Luke had gone on this scouting mission with C-3PO and R2-D2 to locate this new rebel base that they were, or a new rebel base, I should say, because of A New Hope, the Empire now knows where they are. They need to begin the process of finding a new rebel base. So Luke goes off and he's looking for this, and he has not been heard from in a while. So Leia decides to go looking for him, and at the end of issue 10, we see that Luke and the droids are being attacked by this giant sea monster. And that's where we pick back up. So these are typically called Doom World, or this arc. So it includes issue 11, issue 12, issue 13, with a very odd looking Mark Hamill. A very classic, I think, Star Wars comic, number 14, or cover, I should say. And last but not least, issue 15. So, Luke is wound up on a planet called Drexel, which is essentially this giant this water world, and it's basically there. What's going on there is there's this technology that's screwing up any ships that come into this area, and it causes them to crash, which is obviously what happened. In issue 11 here, you can see that Luke is kind of trying to fix the lighting here, obviously on a sinking ship, and so there's also this society that's causing them to crash, or I'm sorry, excuse me, a society that's using this technology they found, and they're wanting to push the individuals. There are certain individuals from this society who want to use the technology differently. Luke decides to join Governor. I'm gonna butcher his name, Quargs, and his group to battle against the Dragon Lords, and that's kind of who they're called. Again, it's he's reluctantly uh, coming up with General Korg. So basically, at this point too, so Luke and the droids are dealing with that, and so obviously we get to see what they're doing here. So at the same time, Leia has gone missing because she's decided, oh, I need to go find Luke. She's going to go look for Luke, and then she ends up getting captured by Crimson Jack. And so Han and Chewie then are trying to lure Crimson Jack to Drexel, which of course is where Luke is. So essentially in this series, you've got a three-way battle going on. In this is you have Luke doing his thing with General Quark, and then you have Han and Chewie, and ultimately they do get Leia, and they're gonna go and try and free her from Crimson Jack. They ultimately are successful, which is really good. And so in the last issue of the arc, issue 15, this one here, Han does go up against Crimson Jack, and ultimately he is killed. Does he come back? It's a comic book, and it's a Marvel book. And again, as I said earlier, I'm a fan of Marvel and their content, and so who knows? Maybe, maybe he does. Anyways, so this is actually the first arc of this comic series to include Archie Goodwin and uh, Carmine Infantino, I'm sorry. They've become like this long-running team. Goodwin will also do the newspaper strips later on that we'll talk about in this series. So this is kind of like one of the longest-running teams here. Archie Goodwin's very known and well-known for the Marvel books. Of course, later on they'll be written by someone named Mary Jo Duffy, who eventually we'll get to. I think she did a great job with that too, but Archie Goodwin is just classic. But I think Archie Goodwin's more famous for the newspaper strips that we'll see later on. Another cool thing in this arc is that we actually get to see some Old Republic Jedi in this. There's actually a flashback there, so we get to see some of that, which is really interesting, especially being a fan of the Old Republic. That is pretty cool to see, especially back in the 1970s when we didn't really know much about that. Now, the big thing that I do want to talk about is, of course, there is a contradiction here, and it's carrying over from when we talked about Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Now, in that, um, remember I said that in the novel, what was stated was that Leia did know how to swim, but Luke did know how to swim. Now, I did say that that was a little weird because, I mean, let's face it, um, you would assume that a desert planet would require you not knowing how to swim, or would result in that. But ultimately, though, in this arc of the Marvel series, turns out that Luke doesn't know how to swim and Leia does. They go with kind of the realistic um, result or ending of that. So, contradiction. Now, to be fair, there's a reason for that contradiction. And back in the day, there wasn't really a huge incentive to make sure that this kept in line with the novels. It wasn't until much later, in 1991, with Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire, that Lucasfilm then put forth more of an effort to make sure it was all cohesive. Now, the Marvel books do fit into the timeline fairly well. Of course, there are some hiccups here, and of course, we just saw that. But remember what I said, though, is that Leland Shee said that if a Marvel comic contradicts a C canon source, then it's considered secondary canon. So in this case, as weird as it is, we're going to go by the novels. So a little strange, yes, but still, it does explain the contradiction. But you could also make the excuse, too, that they weren't really looking to make sure everything, you know, was all cohesive. At the time, it was kind of just the novels are going to do their own thing, and the comics are going to do their own thing. It wasn't until much later where, again, they put forth more of an effort to make sure it all could work together. And ultimately, they did bring these over to main C canon, so they are a part of it. So, is this arc, is 11 through 15, are these comic books right here, are these essential reads for Star Wars Legends fans? No, they're not. Honestly, anything that you read here is not going to affect the overall expanded universe. Ultimately, I would recommend this for people who are interested in the Marvel books. So if you are a Marvel Comics Star Wars fan and you've been reading these, is this an essential read? Oh, absolutely it is. There's no doubt about that. But if you're someone who, doesn't read the comic books, is only interested in the novels, or just maybe reads both, but, are maybe not looking to do the Marvel stuff right now, are these essential? No. They're really only essential if you're going to be checking out the main Star Wars Marvel series. If you're not going to do that, or you're just not that interested, they can be skipped and you can continue on. But again, if you're a completist like me, who likes to have everything or collects everything, these are definitely essential. And honestly, they're fun reads. I mean, I really do like the Marvel books. I don't want to try and trash them because I do think they're fun reads. So, anyways, that'll do it for now. We will continue on next week with another video. Thanks, folks, and may the Force be with you.